diplomacy. JD, you are speaking. What do you mean?
Smoke if you got 'em, I'm about to race to the bottom. They cut you out at lunch and until you see you tomorrow. You bleeding up at your desk while you try to tell us the problems. They put your smoke to the texture like how the fuck do you want it? Get them press out, trying to take the press out. Every other Friday come around and they be talking out their neck loud. Said Tabani, shut up, you think way too much of checks now. Threaten Canada and his opposition with exile. It's funny, Monday come and he walking back what he said. All these propagandists pushing their panic up in your threads. They flipping over their reasons like planes who land on their heads. Justify what you do, hey, why test her up in the red, motherfucker? Trying to be the GOAT like Timothy, have them stepping out their roles like they Kathleen Kennedy. Every Billy in your sector wanna act so cynically in your industry, living in the think peace ministry, I don't buy it. I see Ozempic stuck in your diet, I know that you fucking lying. You think you look like a giant, you really look like you're tired. Corrected over your wires, I'm swinging heavy like wires. What you mean another child, motherfucker? Embarrassment's crashing out at the Oval Office, fumble out the deal and then fuck up all of the basic optics. Watching sycophants clutching pearls while they act obnoxious, thinking they on fire. They really mean like Billy McFarland. But you're better looking cautious, second guessing cuts like you was betting at the Oscars. You keep talking about these files, but you never fucking drop them. Tell these motherfucking fishes to fly back, cause no one wants them right here. And I ain't dying out like Skype. All these people who type out an essay then learn how to fight. Bitch, I be hungry like it's Ramadan. Tired of these drama farms. Go ahead, call me Gene and I'll steal the scene when I fucking want. Oh! Too soon. Rest in peace, Gene Hackman. Very quickly, just to let everybody know, we're going to have a little bit of a shorter breakdown today. It's going to be one major story. Sometimes, bro, it feels like dealing with the comment section is like being in one of those town halls from Parks and Rec. Also, has anybody noticed that Elon Musk just probably watched Ron Swanson's character and then took him like way too seriously? Like way too seriously. Like a fucking idiot would. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching Freestyle the News. If you like what you heard, please show up after a grueling week-long schedule of basketball where you're also collaborating with the most famous anime currently at the time, and have a little animation play where Luffy is like dunking on somebody Space Jam style, and after the refs call like 1,000 fouls trying to take the game away from you, and one of your players leaves due to a calf injury, you finally somehow squeak out another victory because JJ Redick is that guy. And then leave a comment on your favorite bar. If you don't know, hey, I went to the Lakers One Piece game on Friday. It was fucking awesome. I got a cool little t-shirt. Me and Maddie got a couple of seats and we got to watch Luka and LeBron play after being dead tired from the gauntlet they've been facing currently. But also, since it was One Piece Day, there was a bunch of One Piece and Lakers fans. So when you were walking around Crypto.com Arena, still a terrible name for an arena, you could hear people just like arguing about like character dynamics in between things. Like I went to the bathroom at one point and in the line there were two people saying like, no, listen, if Zoro found out that Sanji had hit Luffy, he would have fucked up Sanji. And all I could think of at the time wasn't that, oh, this is a weird conversation for a bathroom. I was like, no, he should have fucked up Sanji. You gotta keep people in line. But everything else about the game was great. Go Luka. But that's neither here nor there. Let's just jump straight into this breakdown. And man, remember how I said it seems like a ton of news in this new era is breaking on Friday? Well, I was fucking right about that, because it's been another crazy week, and coming off the heels of the last Freestyle the News, a ton of those decisions we talked about on Sunday ended up getting major pushback the Monday or Tuesday after. And like I said before, the Trump admin announcing a bunch of crazy shit on Fridays usually makes it harder for news organizations to respond because they're short-staffed over the weekend. Not like us, I'm always short-staffed. Well, either way, guess what happened again this Friday? Because our first story is President Zelensky, JD Vance, Donald Trump, and apparently the fight that broke out, I guess, over him not wearing a suit. Because it's cool with Elon, but with this guy, you better buy a fucking three-piece. So just to catch you up to speed before we get into the meat and potatoes of all this, since Donald Trump won re-election, he has kind of hedged this situation with Ukraine over the past few weeks. Obviously, it is well known how he has criticized Ukraine and their leadership in the past, just so Daddy Putin doesn't get mad at him. Oh, is Daddy angry? But there's also been noticeable middling on his part due to private concerns from Republican senators and a few who have detailed their frustrations with all of this in the press. For example, there was that contentious moment where he said Ukraine was the aggressor, and then multiple Republican senators pushed back on him. And look, after that contentious moment, Trump and Zelensky were set to sign a deal for the US to gain access to some of the rare minerals in Ukraine. The Trump administration saying this would be helpful because it would tie the US interest directly to Ukraine, with them claiming it would justify the cost more. With many detractors saying that Trump may have ulterior motives, blasting what they see as a quid pro quo to defend against an invasion from an authoritarian power like Russia, who Trump seems to be crushing on all the time. Fucking get a room, you two. Preferably, you know, not in this place. I don't want this to be Command and Conquer Red Alert again. But look, everything seemed to be getting smoothed out with Zelensky visiting the US and having a meeting with Trump in the Oval Office to sign this deal. Well, you're not gonna fucking believe this, but everything went wrong.
For the country, the path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy.
He broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have? Everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean. And don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You
God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering
position
on
to
this question.
dictate that.
That's exactly what
Remember
you're
this.
doing.
I'm
That's
with
back
all
to
respect
you.
your
Far
answer.
more than a lot of people said
Very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once? This
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to
Nailed it! This story broke in the middle of a week where this administration has had some pretty mixed news from some of their recent actions. With them barely passing a budget in the House, but the Senate then signaling there's going to have to be changes to that budget, that there's going to have to be another vote in the House, with courts blocking a lot of Trump's actions from the previous week, as well as Elon Musk having to walk back his "tell me what you did this last week if you work for the federal government so I could ignore the Tesla stock tanking or the 12 billion Trump lost in a crypto scheme." But look, even with all we know about Donald Trump's erratic behavior, this was a shocking press conference. Not because we expected like decorum or pageantry or anything like that. No, because it is such a backwards, counterintuitive, political fucking spectacle. We've spoken and shown over the last 4 to 5 weeks how the Trump White House likes to use optics. They always want to seem strong and in control of the narrative. They always want to own the libs and look like everybody who has criticized Trump has Trump derangement syndrome. He's just a normal guy who fucking makes everything gold. This press conference undercut every single one of those points in the span of JD Vance opening his big fucking mouth. All the chaos and problematic notions that turned people off during the first Trump administration were here on full display, like a movie on TNT that hasn't aged well, but you remember it from a while back. In fact, there's a pretty direct parallel to this moment from the first Trump administration. It's Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer in the Oval Office with Donald Trump and Mike Pence screaming about the budget. It was another contentious crash out, which fundamentally hurt Trump during his first term in office after an equally chaotic series of clips hit the internet. And look, after this week's car crash of a moment, Zelensky ended up not signing that minerals deal and leaving the White House with Trump saying, "Hey, come back when you want to talk about peace," demanding an apology for disrespecting America in its cherished Oval Office, which, might I say, shut the fuck up. Miss me with that shit. This has nothing to do with Zelensky, but Bill Clinton had a blowjob in the Oval Office. JFK fucked Marilyn Monroe in the Oval Office. Richard Nixon used to get drunk and talk to paintings in the fucking Oval Office and then record wild shit. LBJ had full-on meetings with the bathroom open. Teddy Roosevelt kept a zoo in there, and you brought the guy who sells swastika shirts during the Super Bowl into the fucking Oval Office. Shut the fuck up. It's an office. It's neatly kept. Great, but miss me with the pageantry and the decorum of this shit, all right? You're not the Princess of Genovia. But look, almost immediately, there was backlash and wild shock reactions everywhere, with many speculating that it was a planned ambush on Zelensky. You had denouncements from Democrats of Trump being a shield for Putin, and a noticeable silence from most Republicans, except for a few. Don Bacon, a Republican from a highly competitive district in Nebraska, and I would just assume a piece of smoked meat that wished it could be a real boy one day, said, quote, "A bad day for America's foreign policy. Ukraine wants independence, free markets, and rule of law. It wants to be part of the West. Russia hates us and our Western values. We should be clear that we stand for freedom." Obviously not a good sign when someone from your party in a competitive district is swinging against you after a moment like this. The other Republican was Lindsey Graham, who, by the way, was like the major person they called in to do damage control right after all this shit went down. This motherfucker almost immediately had a press conference outside with like the C tier of news outlets in attendance. I'm well aware that I am the D tier, okay? You don't gotta remind me. But right afterwards, Graham went on to guest on 2 different shows and repeat the same exact talking points. And I just need to make this as clear as I possibly can. If Lindsey fucking Graham is your go-to surrogate after a very public crash out with a foreign leader, people are not happy with you. Things are not all right in the castle. Listen, I know people have different opinions about what degree of sycophantic Congress is for like Trump and everything like that, and where they think the middle of America stands on all of these issues. Like, I get that, but like 100%, Lindsey Graham influences 0 fucking people. Like, he's not. No, he's got a -4 approval rating in his own fucking state. Lindsey Graham sucks. For a while now. But soon after that, you eventually had Marco Rubio start to surrogate for all of this, who was like, okay, maybe the Crown Prince of Mint Juleps isn't the best person to represent this issue. With Rubio going on to different talk shows to try to explain this as a difficult negotiation. And also to pretend that he didn't look awkward as shit sitting there as it all fucking happened. Like, we have seen that look on every neocon around Trump at some point. But literally, as Trump's team started to make the rounds, Zelensky then received backing from every single EU leader, literally thanking them individually in one of the most stunning rebukes of Trump worldwide you could possibly see. Like, I don't think there was a public rebuke like that during his first admin, honestly. Eventually, later that day, Zelensky went on for his planned interview with Brett Baier. And FYI, just to remind people, again, Brett Baier is known for being very aggressive in his questioning, right? Including of people like Donald Trump. I'm not trying to cape for the guy, but almost all of his interviews that end with the political figure fighting back or holding their ground against very contentious questions result in that political figure looking better towards their base. That's kind of the calculus of it. That being said, Brett pressed Zelensky on possibly apologizing.
I'm not hearing from you, Mr. President, a thought that you owe the president an apology.
No, I respect President and I respect American people. And if, I don't know, if I think that we have to be very open and very honest. And I'm not sure that we did something bad. I think maybe sometimes some things we have to discuss out of media, with all respect to democracy and to a free media. But there are things that where we have to understand the position of Ukraine and Ukrainians.
Do you think the confrontation in the Oval Office today was pre-planned, like Senator Murphy suggests?
I don't know.
You don't know? You think maybe?
I don't know. No. I don't. I mean, this. I don't know about it. I think no. I think it was just a really tough situation because we've been very open, very direct.
What set you off? What made...
That was a smart answer from Zelensky in the way he played it, even if it's not going to appease the Trump faithful. And as the clips made the rounds, it appears that the Baier interview made Zelensky look more sympathetic. But obviously, by the next day, quite a few more talking points started to be put out, with more Republicans saying they were frustrated at Zelensky. But markedly, there were also multiple Republicans who were split from that, who treated it like an unfortunate situation. They didn't explicitly call Trump out by name, but interesting. A little bit of hedging going on there. All right, listen, I don't need to tell you, after the last month and a half of Elon being Elon we've experienced, how important data privacy is. Tech companies seem to be getting even more brazen, and data brokers continue to sell your data, sometimes without your consent, to other people, especially with all the apps and the platforms that we have that sometimes we need to function to do basic shit like laundry. Why? Dude, why do I need to give you my email to do my laundry? I think it's incredibly important to keep an eye on your data, and that's why I use Incogni, the sponsor of today's show. I've had Incogni for about 1.5 years, and my experience on the internet is drastically different in the most positive way. If you don't know what Incogni is, it is the set it and forget it solution to data privacy. So in general, when you have your information through apps get gathered, like biometric data and date of birth and all that, Incogni finds those data brokers who are selling your data and goes through all of the loopholes and the legalese and all the little hurdles they put up to basically just getting your data taken down, and does it for you. It saves you a ton of time and a ton of headache. It reduces a lot of things like spam emails and spam calls, and gives you the peace of mind you need browsing the internet in this day and age where almost everything seems like it wants to know more about you. Not in like a flirty let's be friends way, but in like a stalker way. Like I said, my experience prior to Incogni was very, very different. I was inundated with a lot of spam calls. I had one email that was just completely unusable, right? And since using Incogni, it's been a 180 turnaround, and my personal email is mine again, and I don't have to deal with spam calls every like 3 or 4 hours. And how do you know anything's being done? Incogni gives you a report every single month about how your data takedown process is going. Here's my report when I started Incogni. Here it is now. And listen, Incogni's been a big supporter of the show, and if you want to try them out right now, you can go to incogni.com/Tabani, enter in the code Tabani, and get 60% off an Incogni plan today. 60% off? That's almost as much as the sanity Doe just cut from my brain in the last month. Bruh, I really do believe in these guys. They've made my internet experience a lot better, and I think it's important to have, especially in this new world we're leading into, where again, tech companies are not looking to stop anytime soon. So if you want your data back in your hands, if you're tired of receiving spam emails all the time and spam calls, and if you like this cool rapper news show that we do, go to incogni.com/Tabani, enter in the code Tabani, and get some peace of mind. All right. Back to the break. Now, there's a lot to unpack in the context and the ramifications of this in general. Obviously, still a developing story, but let me start with this. This is bad for Donald Trump. Optics-wise, it is the worst possible fucking thing you could have done with the strategy he needs to push through the groundwork of his agenda in the next few weeks. Let's be very clear. There's tons of data on this. The majority of Republicans support Zelensky, right? In fact, most basic Republicans who voted for Donald Trump had issues with Trump's characterization of Ukraine and Zelensky. So the silence and hedging from Republican orthodoxy over this incident is very, very telling. But I should unpack a little bit of why the situation probably happened in the first place. Because interestingly enough, if you look over the past few days, Trump has seen visits from people like Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron, both who corrected Trump and Vance in the Oval Office when they were given misinformation. These were two pretty fucking embarrassing moments for both Trump and Vance, and I fucking told people that Trump and his friends constantly read headlines to try to respond to them and look stronger. There is tons of evidence of this. So if you match up those two visits from Starmer and Macron with this one, it starts to make perfect fucking sense why Vance would try to swing back like this. Probably because he informed Trump, hey, you know what? This isn't looking good. I'll be the buffer in case we get any pushback and lay down the law. So hot take, I don't think it was an ambush. I think it was a fuck up because Vance thought it would make them look stern and strong, like you don't get to walk over America. We decide what's real and blah, blah, blah. And that he would put Zelensky in his place for being ungrateful. You can even see how professorially he initially approaches the subject, even though it's contentious. But again, Vance is an idiot when it comes to big press swings. If you followed Vance's career over the last election and other moments where he's gained popularity, you'll notice he does really well actually in very controlled environments, like the debate, and really fucking bad when he tries to do these sensationalist swings, like when he tried to fucking approach Kamala Harris's private jet and looked like the tool he is. And again, he was really smart and effective when he tried to paper over Trump's press conference when they were talking about the helicopter crash early on. But here, and actually even with that incident too, he only ended up enabling Donald Trump to make the spectacle of this car crash of a meeting worse. Hi, very quickly, I do need to mention something if I want to be accurate. During that meeting, there is a moment where Zelensky does get visibly frustrated within the conversation. And it would be hypocritical for me to not point out where he gets tense a little bit in this discussion. Now, obviously, it's more understandable because his country is at war, and there's been a lot of sniping in the press from the Trump administration specifically. But when Vance mentions diplomacy as kind of a dig at Joe Biden, you can see Zelensky get visibly frustrated, thinking that, oh, you're throwing strays at me now, too.
And then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then obviously that pushback breaks down with Vance himself. And then eventually with Trump when he mentions the Great Ocean and all that kind of stuff.
Nice ocean. And don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know that.
bless. You
Don't-
will not
you
have
gotta-
a war.
Don't tell us.
But a lot of what I'm detailing here is the Trump administration's optics on all of this. There seems to be a ton of support, but also quite a few mixed reactions and worries from Ukrainians specifically. With other Democratic lawmakers saying they signaled Zelensky to just not take the bait, go in and get this thing done.
Regretting. Yes, I think it was not good. I think it was not good because we had a lot of different dialogues. I'm always open to media, but there are very sensitive things. I just want to be honest, and I just want our partners to understand the situation correctly. And I want to understand everything correctly. That's about us.
But I do need to mention that specific moment in that interaction. And again, optics-wise and the way that people are reacting to it, people have a lot more sympathy for Zelensky in particular because of his country being at war and because of Donald Trump's just generally erratic behavior over the last 4 or 5 weeks. So just to give you the full picture, I mean, I'll link the interview down below so you can see yourself. If it's your first 100 days as president and you have campaigned on being the common sense solution to woke hysteria and dramatic people, and after 2 days of other world leaders correcting you, you get into a shouting match where people from your own party are rebuking you and the other world leaders are actually backing the guy you started shit with, and that guy is popular and is on the other side of issues you are routinely criticized for? Yeah, I think it's a bit of a fucking problem, my guy. Increasingly, I keep letting people know that there are multiple signs of Donald Trump getting internal pushback with similar moves that he keeps performing from his first term. But the difference from his first term is that instead of a crash out, you see a pivot because he doesn't want to make it look like he's losing or crazy. And while Trump with this strategy has gotten through a few things that are damaging to everybody else but beneficial to his own bullshit, this is one of the lines that was very clear with the GOP and their establishment. Again, you have more opportunists than you have sycophants. Now, with that being said, I do think Zelensky and Trump both end up ceding ground a little bit here in the long run. For Zelensky, listen, even if he's in the right, he does need the United States. And overall, he's kind of made his point, and you can see him somewhat trying to remain open to figuring things out with Trump. Trump will probably bluster more. And if he receives enough internal and external pushback, come back to the negotiating table and then act like Zelensky begged him to do all of this. He's being such a nice fucking guy. Or he'll probably act like nothing happened in the first place. But I cannot stress enough how heavily this administration is working through and against optics. And look, I get it. There are plenty of people on that last Zaid Talks I did who don't want to underestimate what Republicans do when it comes to fascistic ideas. And I am not saying that Donald Trump is not fascistic or that he isn't a threat to democracy or you shouldn't take the threats of him seriously when it comes to his worst impulses. But please do not believe the literal talking points of somebody who lies and exaggerates to maintain his fucking image of power. If you have that impulse that you don't want to underestimate your enemy, you should also have an equal impulse that you should avoid misunderstanding your enemy as well. I have said before that these people are taking your actions into account. Quite literally weeks ago, Trump received that pushback for blaming Obama for the helicopter crash, and after that made headlines, within 24 hours, he signed an executive order blaming Obama and Biden for that crash. Like, that was one of the most petty, direct responses from this administration. We are not in Viktor Orban's power grab. We are not in Adolf Hitler's power grab. We are in Donald Trump's power grab. A person whose entire public image and soft power is hinged on him being seen as a larger than life figure, whether he is a threat or an ally. And the best way over the last 8 years, honestly, over the last multiple decades, we have seen him lose isn't when people turn on him, it's when people call him on his bluff. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Let me know what you think in the comments. Just a crazy fucking weekend. And that's gonna do it for today's show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, go watch Zaid Talks, and hopefully don't leave me a 4-paragraph essay on how wrong I am about history. I appreciate you guys on this page. I'm not trying to tell you to not be worried. I'm trying to give you tools so you can fight back the most effective way and make sure some change actually happens. And also I wanna have a community where we're all working through this insanity together, because it's fucking crazy, right? The What Did I Fucking Say shirt goes live middle of this week. And yes, after so long, Griff Watch episode 2 is coming. Anyway, my name is Tabani. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all soon. Let's go.